Today's writing question: people who take risks often achieve more in life than those who play it safe. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Here is a Band 9 model essay on this topic. Listen closely, because every sentence has been crafted to demonstrate the highest standard of IELTS essay writing. If you are new here, subscribe now. This channel will help you improve your IELTS band score. Those who embrace risk tend to outperform those who favor caution, and I largely agree with this view, provided that the risks in question are calculated rather than impulsive. While a cautious approach offers a degree of security, it often forecloses the very opportunities through which extraordinary achievement becomes possible. The relationship between risk-taking and success is most visible in the sphere of entrepreneurship and innovation. Individuals who are willing to step beyond the predictable path expose themselves to a wider range of outcomes, including the kind of transformative success that a conventional approach rarely generates. Steve Jobs, for instance, abandoned a conventional education and channeled his energy into building a company whose products would eventually reshape entire industries. What made his risk worthwhile was not blind confidence, but a clear vision supported by rigorous preparation. When people invest the time to assess the consequences of a decision before acting on it, the risk they take is no longer a gamble. It becomes a strategic move. Risk-taking also cultivates qualities that are difficult to develop in conditions of comfort and predictability. Those who confront uncertainty are compelled to adapt, to problem solve, and to tolerate failure as a step rather than a destination. Over time, these experiences produce a resilience that people who have always played it safe are rarely able to call upon. Although caution protects a person from certain kinds of loss, it also insulates them from the growth that only difficulty can produce. It must be acknowledged, however, that not every act of risk deserves endorsement. Decisions made without adequate preparation or driven purely by emotion can produce consequences that are difficult to reverse. The distinction that matters is not between risk and safety, but between reckless action and informed boldness. A calculated risk, one in which the potential gains have been weighed against the realistic costs, tends to move a person forward even when the immediate outcome falls short of expectations. In conclusion, the evidence strongly supports the view that risk-takers achieve more on the condition that their risks are grounded in reflection and preparation. Playing it safe may preserve what a person already has, but it rarely creates anything new. Now let us break this essay down and understand exactly why it would score Band 9 on every single marking criterion. Starting with the introduction. The opening sentence does two things at once. It restates the topic and immediately signals the writer's position. The phrase, "provided that the risks in question are calculated rather than impulsive," is particularly important because it introduces a qualification that prevents the essay from sounding naive. A Band 9 essay does not simply agree or disagree. It thinks carefully about the conditions under which a claim is true. The final sentence of the introduction previews the argument with precision, using the phrase "forecloses the very opportunities" to convey a strong, clear idea rather than a vague one. The first body paragraph develops the central argument through a real-world example. Notice that Steve Jobs is not mentioned just as a name drop. The essay explains specifically what made his risk credible, namely a clear vision supported by rigorous preparation. This is exactly what IELTS examiners mean by a fully developed point. The paragraph ends with a sentence that elevates the example into a principle. The risk they take is no longer a gamble. It becomes a strategic move. That kind of concluding sentence shows analytical thinking, not just storytelling. The second body paragraph shifts from evidence to mechanism. Instead of giving another example, it explains why risk-taking produces better outcomes by building resilience and problem-solving capacity. The contrast between those who confront uncertainty and those who have always played it safe is expressed cleanly and precisely. The concessive clause, although caution protects a person from certain kinds of loss, gives the paragraph intellectual honesty without weakening the argument. If this is already clearer than what you have been writing, hit the like button. It helps me grow and produce better videos for you. The third body paragraph handles the counterargument. Many candidates make the mistake of spending too long on the opposing view, which weakens their overall position. This essay devotes a single paragraph to the qualification, reframes it as a distinction within risk-taking rather than an argument against it, and uses it to reinforce the main thesis. The phrase "informed boldness" is a precise and sophisticated way to express the writer's final position. The conclusion is short and confident. It summarizes the argument in one sentence and ends with a statement that is memorable without being dramatic. Playing it safe may preserve what a person already has, but it rarely creates anything new. Notice how that sentence uses contrast structure, balancing two clauses against each other. This is the kind of sentence that leaves an examiner with a strong final impression. Now let us look at vocabulary. Every word in this essay is chosen for precision, not decoration. Forecloses is used instead of removes because it specifically means to prevent something from ever becoming possible. Insulates is used instead of protects because it carries the idea of separation from the outside world. Cultivates is used instead of builds because it implies gradual, intentional development. None of these words are used for the sake of sounding advanced. They are used because they say exactly what the writer means. Notice also the precision of phrases like transformative success, a conventional approach, and realistic costs. These are not flashy collocations. They are the right words in the right place. Now, let us look at grammar, using only structures that are actually present in this essay. The essay opens with a complex noun phrase. Those who are willing to step beyond the predictable path. The noun head "those" carries a defining relative clause that identifies exactly which group is being discussed. This structure appears naturally throughout the essay and is never forced. Non-defining relative clauses appear in sentences such as, Steve Jobs, for instance, abandoned a conventional education and channeled his energy into building a company whose products would eventually reshape entire industries. The relative clause introduced by whose adds information without beginning a new sentence, which is a sign of mature sentence construction. The essay uses fronted adverbial phrases to vary sentence openings and create cohesive flow. Over time, these experiences produce a resilience is one example, where the time adverbial is placed before the main clause to signal a shift in the argument's direction. Concessive clauses appear in two places. Although caution protects a person from certain kinds of loss, it also insulates them from the growth that only difficulty can produce. And a calculated risk, one in which the potential gains have been weighed against the realistic costs, tends to move a person forward even when the immediate outcome falls short of expectations. Both examples show the writer acknowledging complexity without losing argumentative direction. Passive constructions are used where the agent is either unknown or less important than the action. Driven purely by emotion and the potential gains have been weighed against the realistic costs are examples where the passive voice places emphasis on what happens rather than who causes it. The essay also uses comparative structures for precision. Expose themselves to a wider range of outcomes and rarely able to call upon, are examples where comparison is embedded naturally in the argument rather than used as decoration. What makes this essay Band 9 is not any single technique. It is the combination of a clear and consistent argument, vocabulary that is precise rather than decorative, and grammar that creates variety without creating errors. Every paragraph earns its place. Every sentence extends the one before it, and the essay leaves the reader and the examiner with a complete and well-reasoned response to the question. That is what Band 9 looks like. Work toward it deliberately, and your score will follow.